Hi, I'm Bob Whitty with KPND in Sandpoint, Idaho. If I can be a fan of Skylight Books, LA's world-famous independent bookstore, from way up here in the Idaho Panhandle, then you can too, from wherever you are. Visit the website, buy some books. You can even join their membership club and reap the benefits of supporting independent booksellers. Thanks.
Meet me on the softer side. Meet me on the softer side. Softer side of your heart.
Hi there, and welcome to the Skylight Books author reading series. You can find out about this and all of our other author events at www.skylightbooks.com, where you can also browse our inventory as well as order books online. You can also follow us on Twitter or even be our friend at facebook.com. If you'd like to talk to a real person, we can be reached at 323-660-1175. And don't forget, Skylight Books depends on listeners like you to help support us. So whether you're in our neighborhood or browsing online, buy a book or two to help ensure that we'll be around for a long, long time. Thanks and enjoy.
All right, so, all right. You guys may recognize our reader tonight, Dagmara Dominczyk.
Yeah.
Close enough? All right. Not from her books, from her roles on such high-profile television shows such as 24 and The Good Wife, as well as full-length feature films like Count of Monte Cristo and Kinsey. But tonight we're here to listen to her read from her debut novel, The Lullaby of Polish Girls. Yay. Inspired by her parents' political history and her family's immigrant story, The Lullaby of Polish Girls follows the friendship of three women from their coming of age in a small Polish town in the 1980s to their complicated adult lives. Publishers Weekly calls Lullaby of Polish Girls a feisty debut, and Kirkus Review says Dominczyk writes knowingly of the issues faced by first-generation Americans and the problematic ties to their home country. Without further ado, Dagmara Dominczyk.
Hi. Can't move it. Thanks for coming. I like small, intimate crowds. Makes for unforgettable evenings. Hi. So I've done two of these before, and I don't like to repeat myself, so I'm going to try to, just for the front row, aside from you guys, has seen this like 5 times now. Well, 3. So I'll talk a little bit about the genesis of the book and a little bit about me, but I'll read in between, so it's not like I'm not going to sit here for 15 minutes and read. We'll just mix it up a little. So this is a story that I've been writing for a while, that I started writing when I was really 25 and then put away for a long time. It's a story of 3 Polish girls, which is good because it would be weird if they were Belgian or something. I'm Polish, so that helps. I came from Poland 30 years ago. My dad was a founding member of this workers' union called Solidarity. And in the early 80s, they were trying to band together and do away with the communist government there. And my dad was one of the more prominent members of Solidarity. And in 81, martial law was declared in Poland, and big white vans came in the middle of the night and rounded up some of these guys, and my dad was one of them. And I remembered them carting him away. My little sister was really little, and he was gone in prison for 11 months. And I remember visiting him, and that's another story. And then a year later, he was given the choice of deportation. A year later, the government was really flailing, and they thought that putting these guys in prison would calm things down, and it did the opposite. So now they were trying to oust them out. And some went willingly because it was a very volatile time, and some, like my dad, really didn't want to go. But he had 2 small kids and a wife who said, "We have no future. We don't know the future." And so the AFL-CIO in New York sponsored us. We got to New York City on February 17th, 1983, and lived in a grungy hotel on the Lower East Side for a couple of weeks until we found housing in the Glenwood Housing Projects in Brooklyn, where I grew up. And so coming here and not understanding English was a huge thing. Coming here in the 80s from an iron block country was a huge thing as well. You know, we had ration cards and stood on lines for toilet paper and all that. It was really, that curtain hung heavy. And so it was a huge move emotionally, and just, it was sensory overload, Times Square. And I remember bag ladies and people of different colored skin, and just too much, you know, for me, and I'm sure too much for my parents, but we kind of made it. Look at us now, we're like the Polish Jeffersons. What? So we settled into our life in Brooklyn. My dad still worked on behalf of Solidarity. My mom and her Polish girlfriends in the projects had this communal babysitting system, and they cleaned houses to make cash, and it was kind of, in a weird way, idyllic. And then when I was 12, my dad went to Germany. He headed these smuggling operations that would smuggle printing presses and all these newsletters and information into Eastern Bloc countries, and he was at the head of that. And my uncle was going to Kielce, my hometown, in '89, smuggling in pieces of a printing press under the back seat cushion. And I went on like a father-daughter trip, and I was really scared of my dad and in awe. He was this bigger-than-life guy. And I said, please let me go. I want to go and see Poland again. I was 6 when I left. I was 12. And he was very nervous because he thought the KGB was looming everywhere. Maybe it was. And we weren't allowed back in, but I went, and I was there for 3 days, and I fell in love with my homeland in 3 days, and all the kids there, and they fell in love with me. And for a decade I returned. Every summer my parents busted their asses, and we returned. And anyway, all the while I wrote and I read, because not to understand a language is a huge thing. And for kids, it's sink or swim, it's do or die. You're thrown in school and that's it. We adapt real quick, and we have no choice. And the way I did that was learning to read, and reading out loud, and writing stories, and reading and writing and reading and writing. And I've done that all my life since I was 10. Hi, what's up? Have a seat. That's an old friend. There's plenty of room. So I kept a journal since I was 10, and the acting thing just kind of surprised me when it happened. We don't come from a family of artists or actors or dancers or anything like that. We didn't go to the theater, we didn't go to the movies, really. You know, we not culturally diverse back then. We were blue collar, all the way blue collar. And so the acting thing, I guess I loved telling stories on paper, and somehow it translated into telling stories on a stage, and I kind of felt more confident, and otherwise I was a big book nerd. But so it's not surprising to me, secretly, if I'm to be really open, that I actually wrote a book because I wanted to write one my whole life. And I used this line at Word, and I'm going to use it again because it was good. So the line is, people who know me well know I love to read and write. People know me a little, know I act, and people who don't know me know I'm married to Patrick Wilson. So. See? It's a good line. Anyway, so there's a lot I want to say, but I'm going to start reading a little bit. So there's 3 girls in this book, and one of them is Anna, which is loosely, kinda, a lot based on me and my immigrant experience and me coming over at 12. And the 3 girls in this novel meet in the summer of '89 when Anna, funnily enough, has the same kind of trip and goes back to Poland. Her dad also was a Solidarity member, so Anna's a lot of me. And they meet when they're 12, and they become lifelong friends, and they're vastly different. And when you're 12, first impressions are everything, and they make very strong first impressions on one another. And so let me read you a little bit about Anna's homecoming, those 3 days, which is kind of Dag's homecoming and my 3 days. And I'll tell you other stuff that's kind of rooted in the truth, and other stuff that is totally fiction. It's just a big old mess of my heart and my life, and some fake stuff too. Okay, so Anna goes back to Poland those 3 days. Her grandmother and her relatives fall on her. They can't believe it. She's this beautiful blonde 12-year-old, has buck teeth and a little adolescent paunch, and his head's taller than everybody, and it's the hormones in the American milk or something. And when she first arrives to her grandmother's apartment building, she gets out of the car and she's rendered speechless because all of a sudden, just like that, all these memories flood. And she starts remembering things from when she was 5 and 6 and 7, stuff she hadn't had time to remember because she was trying to make it in America. And she sees this thing called the trepak. So let me tell you a little about trepak, because originally I wanted to call this book Rug Beater, which, I don't know. It could have been construed different ways. But that's how I translated trepak. So a lot of people in Poland and all these Eastern Bloc countries didn't have vacuum cleaners in the 70s, 80s, even kind of now today. And so every housing project, these communist housing projects built in the 60s and 70s, had these trepaki, which were 3 kind of iron poles, put it in the ground with one slicing the middle, and you would come outside in the morning and hang your rug or your carpet and beat it with these kind of tennis rackets, like. So Anna comes and she sees this trepak, and the kids use it like a monkey bars, you know. And just the sight of this trepak alone sends her reeling back in time, and this little love affair starts happening. And then later on, she wants to go outside alone. When she opens the apartment building stairwell door, she sees that a dozen or more kids have gathered around. Most are hanging off the rug beater. Some of them are squatting in front of it. They are an army of small warriors holding down the fort in the face of an intruder. They must have seen the German car pull up. Maybe someone caught a glimpse of a tall girl in Levi's and spread the word. Anna walks tentatively toward them. The boys, assorted ages but not sizes, with legs so skinny that it makes her sad, those giant knees, pretend to be idle with other things like gum chewing. The girls stare at her unabashedly. They are all, boys and girls alike, clad in polyester short shorts and open-toed sandals. Suddenly, one kid, whose shorts are so small they look like underwear, squints up at her and asks, "Mówisz po polsku?" Anna nods, and the boy continues, "That's a Volkswagen, right? So what are you, from Germany?" "Jestem Polka," Anna wants to say. "I'm Polish." But it's too early to feel defensive, so she merely shakes her head no. Then a pretty girl who looks to be around Anna's age and has brown hair that's cropped like a boy's asks, "Then where are you from? Because obviously you're not from here." The girl stands with her arms folded sternly across her chest, waiting for Anna to answer. Some of the other girls chuckle, and Anna flushes pink. The folded arms girl wears orange cotton shorts with flowers on them, an outfit that would be ridiculed in the States. "Actually, I am from here. I was born here, but I live in New York City." A slight hush befalls the group. "You mean like America?" asks another boy whose unfortunate bangs cut right across the middle of his forehead in a perfectly straight line. Anna nods again. "Ya pierdole!" exclaims a kid who can't be more than 6. "I'll be fucked!" And then everybody cracks up, including Anna. The next day, Anna runs outside as soon as she wakes up. She exchanges addresses with her new friends. The pretty brunette is Justyna Zator, whose mother was best friends with Anna's mother, Paulina. Justyna tells Anna that their moms got pregnant the same year and both of them had to quit school and that their mothers still keep in touch. "I know everything about you, girl. I know you live in Brooklyn and that your dad drives an Audi." Justyna pronounces it Brooklyn, and Anna smiles. That day, Sebastian Tefilski comes from oh, no, that's skipped. I skipped that part. I'm skipping around a little. All right. On the 3rd day of her departure, tears are shed. Anna weeps, her cousins weep, her aunts weep while chain-smoking on the balcony, and Babcia weeps in the kitchen. Babcia is her grandmother, kneading her rosary. Anna tries to cheer them up and vows to return in 10 months. She'll work after school and buy her own airplane ticket if she has to. An hour before Uncle Adam comes to pick her up, Anna says goodbye to the apartment. She stands in every corner, touching each wall with her palms, touching as many things as possible. "I'll come back," she whispers to the pink bathtub in the tiny bathroom. "Wrócę." Outside, the rug beater is occupied again, this time by an army of allies. They stare at her with sad, longing faces. Anna was never, ever this popular back in New York. If her parents don't let her come back, probably she'll kill herself. As the car zooms past St. Józef's Church, her childhood neighborhood of Szydłówek disappears, just like that. In the back seat, Anna feels her heart breaking. just a few kilometers away, but she already feels tęsknota, a Polish word that describes a kind of yearning for which there is no American equivalent. So that's a little bit of Anna in the beginning. That's my friend Garrett from school. I haven't seen him in like 100 years. Are you gonna stay? Then sit. Oh my God. Hi, Garrett. Talk amongst yourself for a second. Just kidding. Okay, so that's Anna. And now we're going to talk about Kamila. So there's three girls. Anna, which is the Polish immigrant girl, kind of like me. And there's Kamila, who's this kind of, well, you'll see Kamila. And then there's Justyna, who you meet a little bit, this brash, kind of feisty. She remains feisty and brash for her whole life. And these are, she forms these friendships. They form these friendships here at 12 years old, which is like the cusp, when you're on the cusp of every fucking thing you can be as a little girl into a young woman. And I remember spending all my summers in Poland too. I would go back a lot. And I was a high schooler in performing arts high school, 14, 15. And my school year was all with my artist friends, you know, actors, dancers, writers, painters, and we would talk about the future, and it was exciting. New York was exciting. We were artists, and our lives were going to be huge. We were going to be big stars. We were going to make names, and the future was something that, God, we wanted to chase down so bad. And our feelings were things that we wanted to mold and create into art, and we talked about everything. We opened our hearts to one another. It was very, well, looking back, it was very, you know, self-absorbed and indulgent, but it was real and lovely, and it was a great way to grow up. And then cut to my summers in Poland, in Kielce, which is hard-scrabble, blue-collar, poor kind of town. We're only famous for our mayonnaise. We have a factory, and we make mayonnaise, and it's like, well, it's like Polish Hellmann's, but it's Kielecki mayonnaise. And that's about it. There's a slaughterhouse, and that's it. And so all my friends in Poland were these kind of tough kids, and all my girlfriends in Poland were these tough girls, and we never talked about the future, ever. We never talked about the past, really. We just talked about now, what we were going to do, what boys we were going to see, what disco we were going to go to, what time we could stay out late at night. Kind of frivolous things, but for some reason, it was all that mattered, and those summers were kind of unto themselves. And, you know, it's a very American thing to talk about everything and to air our dirty, beautiful, broken laundry. And in Poland, you don't air it. You actually do, because there's no dryers. No one has, you know. But the personal laundry, you keep tight. So I led these kind of two existences in adolescent times, you know. One was this open, wonderful, emotional time, and yet my stronger emotions and my love and my adoration were for these Polish kids who didn't have a fucking future, really, so I talk about it. So anyway, so Anna comes to Poland, makes this big splash for 3 days, and somebody misses it. And that's Kamila, who was at her działka. Now, a działka, if you're growing up in this little industrial city in Poland, you live in these one-bedroom cramped apartment building. No one has beds. They all sleep on pull-out sofas because you use it as a day room. And what you do, though, is you rent a tiny little plot of land, maybe the size of this, I don't know, table, and you plant strawberries and raspberries, and that's your, like, getaway home. And it's 20 minutes outside the city, and it's like the suburbs for them. And if you're lucky enough, you have money to get a little działka. And poor Kamila was at the działka with her dad the weekend Anna Baron came to Kielce. She finds this out and is totally upset and decides, screw it, I'm going to write her a letter. So this is Kamila's letter. Droga Aniu, I'm very sorry that I have to introduce myself in a letter. I wish I could have done it in person, but you see, my father and I were on our działka the weekend you visited, and so I missed you. And don't think I haven't been kicking myself ever since. Everyone said that you were really nice and friendly and also very pretty. If you are wondering how I got your address, don't worry, it wasn't from Justyna. She wouldn't share it with me, and I think you should know this because real friends share everything. This letter will be short because maybe you won't want to write to me. You might be too busy with life in America, or you might have too many pen pals already. But I thought I would give it a shot because I'm very friendly too. I really can't get over the fact that I didn't meet you. Did you know that our moms went to school together and that we were born just 6 weeks apart? I thought that was really neat. I'm older. Oh, I almost forgot. My name is Kamila Marchewska. I live in Klatka 63, just a few doors up from your babcia's. Just like you, I'm an only child. Well, I did have a brother who drowned when he was 3, but I was 5. I don't really remember him. My mother's name is Zofia. That's how I got your address. From my mom, because your mom still sends us holiday cards. And we were baptized on the same day at St. Joseph, so you see, we're already connected. I'm in the 8th grade coming this fall. I can't believe the summer is almost over. It makes me want to shout with despair. No more gorgeous sunsets or bonfires, and the Tentra pool will be closing. My grandmother died in January, and I've finally gotten over it because everything is better in the summer. But that too is now over, and I'm dreading the school year. Anyway, if the rumors are true and you really are coming next year for the whole vacation, then that is so wonderful, and I will wait for you and cross off the days in my calendar till your arrival. I think we're going to be better friends than you and Justyna because she can be really mean and she's also a liar. But you don't have to tell her I said that. Proszę cię, right back. Kamila Mariana Marchewska. So of course they do meet. They meet the next summer. And they become this kind of trifecta. 3 girls, vastly different. It's always 3 girls in a book. I don't know why that is, but it always is. And the book is written like this. It came out organically. It might be confusing, but don't let it, deter you. The present day action starts in November 2002 when this horrible thing happens to one of these girls, and you find that out on page 6. You're gonna find that out in a second. And then every other chapter is a flashback to these summers. And the present-day actions from November 2001 to January, to New Year's Day. So the 3 girls, you see all the things that happen. And at 25 years old, something really fucking shitty happens to Justyna. And you find this out very quickly. You find it out in the first chapter because Anna gets a phone call. And let's just find out what happened to Justyna. The last 24 hours have brought a bloodbath upon the Strawicz home. They have brought the inevitable, but Justyna can't see that now. All she can see is that overnight she has become someone who will be whispered about. From now on, people will whisper that she's too sad or not sad enough. They'll whisper accusations and apologies. And surely they'll whisper if she ever finds another man, but who the fuck in this town will want to date an unemployed widow with a kid anyway? On the way back from the police station, walking up Witosa Road, Justyna saw her neighbors staring out their windows and clustered on the sidewalk, stealing glances in her direction. She walked past, enjoying a smoke, trying to elicit eye contact so she could wave and make them fucking squirm, but no one bit. She was ambling through a nightmare, through a haze, and nothing seemed real. The kitchen sink is full of dishes. Rambo, her mother's dog, has left 2 piss puddles in the hallway that no one has bothered to clean up. Her son, Damian, is getting antsy on her lap and asks if he can go outside to play. It's cold and snowing, but Justyna pushes him off. And don't come back, she thinks, as he runs out of the kitchen. From the foyer, he yells, "Will Tato be back when I come home?" Justyna shrugs her shoulders. "We'll see," she shouts back. She lights another cigarette. Upstairs, she hears her sister, Elvira, crying again. Elvira hasn't stopped crying, and Justyna can't blame her. Last night, Elvira's boyfriend killed Pavel. Killed him in the upstairs bathroom, cold-blooded, out of the blue. Just like that. Celina, Elvira's daughter, wanders into the kitchen, a naked Barbie dangling from her skinny hand. "Ciociu, the dog pee-peed by the stairs." Justyna says nothing. "Ciociu, it stinks." Justyna looks at her niece, at her big blue eyes, her ratty hair tangled like tangled straw, her pretty oval face. She hands Celina a dish towel. "If it stinks, then clean it up." On the table, Justyna moves her ashtray around in a circle. She can still see Pavel's body and her head twisted and puffy, splayed on the corner's table. Had his last word been an angry kurva or a cry for her frantic Justynka, no one gives a shit. And Justyna doesn't blame them. Her husband was just a carcass. She could see that in the way the examiners had poked at him. Pavel would never be someone who used to be. To them, he had never existed in the first place. He was a corpse. Justyna had stared at his gashes, as if she too had no point of reference anymore, as if she was gazing at some unfortunate stranger and not at her husband at all. So, when I was 23, I think, and I had just come off some movies like Monte Cristo and Rockstar and Living It Up in New York and moved out with my sister. What? I was 25. I'm always trying to make myself, did I just age myself or not? I don't remember. I got a phone call from my mom. I hadn't been to Poland in a few years. I lost touch with a lot of my friends. And I got a phone call from my mom. And I remember it as a phone call, but I don't even know if I was at her house and she told me. I honestly don't remember. But she said, you know, she named this girl who used to hang out with all the time in Poland. She was crying a lot. I said, yeah. Last night, her husband was murdered by his brother-in-law in their house, in their upstairs bathroom. And he escaped. And I remember I felt like she was telling me the plot of one of the latest telenovelas that she's obsessed with. It didn't seem real, but it was real. I remember I called her. My mother made me call her, which I really didn't want to do. And it was very, hi, how are you? I'm sorry. It's okay. Bye. It was so fucked up, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop thinking about what happens when you start life at a, you know, like there's a starting line, and we're all born in Kielce, a shitty little town in beautiful Poland, same year. A lot of these friends that I grew up with. I'm not just talking about, you know, I didn't know the details of this murder, and I didn't want to know, and I didn't know when writing this book. I kind of took this event and fictionalized it obviously. But anyway, you start out life, and then most of the people stay on their little well-worn, beaten-down path, and you make a hard right. And you wake up, and your life is like a fucking fairy tale, and all of a sudden, you get a reality check. So I had all these feelings of guilt and what I left behind, and why? And when I can't get something out of my head, I start writing like I've always done. It helps me. And so I started writing, and I wrote 50 pages. I've cried at every single one of these, man. I thought I'd be like a pro by now, but I can't. And I started writing, and I wrote 50 pages, and it was called The Constellations. And my sister read it and was like, dude, you're sitting on gold. You were so right. Well, we'll see if I'm sitting on gold. But it's done, so that's all that matters. And then I got another movie and a thing, and I put it away, and I think I got it out of my system. All my feelings of guilt and all this stuff, and I just kind of cleansed myself a little bit, shook it off, and said, this is my life, and I'm all right, what can you do? And then a few years ago, I stopped acting. I had some babies. I gained some weight. I was going resentful. I hadn't had it. I read some books on tape for Simon & Schuster, but I was like the wife of Patrick Wilson, and it was great. And it also sucked, because when you're a creative person, and you kind of, you deprive yourself, you kind of starve that part of you, you're going to feel a big growl. And I felt it. And I said, what could I do? I'm too fat for TV. I need to do something. And I went back and I found these pages, and I said, I'm going to write. I'm going to scrap it and start from scratch. And I wrote, it took me 2 summers. I could only write in the summers on my balcony in Greenpoint. And it took me 2 summers to finish. And then it was like 500 pages, because I thought, this is my one shot at writing a thing about Poland, and it would have like lots of tangents and stuff. And the wonderful people at Random House helped me whittle it down. I missed some of those parts, but oh well. And a lot of the book, there's 3 of the girls, and you find out what happens. And I think anyone who came of age, who had a place they went to in the summers, anyone who lived with 2 kind of cultures in their home, anyone who ever left a place and tried to, reconcile where they came from with where they got to, we'll find something in this book that speaks to them. Because we all come from somewhere, whether it's good or bad, and we all end up somewhere as adults, and sometimes you could see the line, it's a clear road, and sometimes you lose your way and you don't even know how the fuck you got here. But there's a fourth character in the book, and this is the last thing I'll read, and it's Poland. What do you guys know about Poland?
Great mayonnaise.
Great mayonnaise, Pope, and cleaning ladies, and communist, once upon a time. Girls are cute but crazy. Kielbasa. Pierogi. Vodka. There's a lot more, and there's a lot that's fucked up about my homeland, but I continue to go back almost every summer. My husband, my all-American, beautiful husband, I bet you never thought you'd marry a Polish girl, and I never thought I'd marry an American boy, but somehow we did, and found each other and all that stuff. And I'll start crying again, so let me read. So the fourth character is Poland. The stars in Poland are bright and sharp, as if torn from a connect-the-dots coloring book. They baffle Anna and remind her of religion and faith. In New York, the neon signs and tall buildings disturb the heavens, and all Anna can make out aside from the moon is the lone North Star. But not here. Here the grass looks and smells like grass, rampant and overgrown among the cracked stones that pave the sidewalks. It's not pretty, and it's a far cry from the well-manicured lawns in Brooklyn, but it's real. Even downtown, you can sometimes inexplicably catch a whiff of cow manure and wheat. And the stars. Oh no, yes, here nature forces its way into every corner in its purest form, and the stars take over at night, illuminating everything the way God intended. It's all as if from a fairy tale. The blackbirds call at 7 in the morning, the magpies flight at dusk, the century-old wooden huts nestled next to the brightly painted 70s-era communist apartment housing. Everyone smokes and laughs, but nobody smiles unless they really fucking mean it. And at the heart of everything is the one thing that unites everyone. Przetrwanie. Survival. So... like my sister said the other day when we were doing the launch at Beautiful Word Bookstore, this bookstore is gorgeous too, that word of my heart. And we were smoking a cigarette on the corner trying to, all these Polish people came and it was so great, they were so supportive, and all my mom's friends, and we snuck around the corner like, oh my God. And she went, American dream much? And it's true, we're little tiny American dreams, I guess. And I realized, I talk about Poland a lot at these things, and I always forget America. And I shouldn't. Because here's the thing, your dream isn't guaranteed to come true in America. But in America, it's a real huge fucking possibility. So, buy my book. If you don't buy it, tell your friends about it. Maybe they'll buy it. I don't know. Questions? What? Should I say anything else?
It's usually the part where you guys can ask some questions. If you have them, don't be shy.
Anybody? What? Are you just all verklempt? You can't talk?
Have you started the next book yet?
I have. I'm like changing carts midstream. Is that it? Writing to, I've acted for a long time and then I stopped, and I'll always love acting. But after becoming a mother, I'm just really wary of the business side to it. Like, I just don't want to deal. If you don't like it, fine. And this is like, I sit on my porch, boys are at school, I have some cigarettes, a cup of coffee, and no one's telling me what to look like, what to wear, how to act, and it's so freeing and so nice. And I'm writing a second book, and it has nothing to do with Poland, and it's in first person. I wrote these girls in third person, which was strange for me, but I feel like you can't really know a Polish girl all the way, so I kept a little distance. But the next one is totally different, and I'm halfway through, and it's awesome, and I'm excited for this next part of my life. Anyway, anything else? Yes.
You write every day?
I do. I do, but I do, usually I try like Monday to Friday, and in the beginning I pretended it was like a job, and it worked, you know, and I'm lucky enough to have a husband that when he was home, I would say, can I go to the porch for like 10 minutes? I just want to rewrite. And of course the 10 minutes turned to like 2 hours. And I have a babysitter that helps, and my mom helps, so I'm lucky that I have time to write. And now that the boys are in school, yeah, I write in the mornings. I can't write any other night at time. It's got to be in the morning, and it's got to be with coffee and a cigarette. I know, it's so bad. Did you? He's this little guy. He's a guy I met a long time ago at Carnegie Mellon. Carnegie Mellon, that's where we met. What? Go Pittsburgh. Go Pittsburgh, I know. Anyway, yeah. I also say this. One of the big things at Carnegie Mellon is Andrew's big old quote. You'll remember this, Christian. What's his big old quote? My heart is in the work, right?
Yep.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
Right?
I remember it like it was yesterday.
So, my heart is in this work, except my heart in this work drops the F-bomb a lot and smokes and drinks and has scenes of graphic sex. So they're not, you know, not everyone's going to dig it, and that's okay, but they're kind of hardcore characters, and you might have a hard time liking them, but you'll love them by the end. What? Adriana? Oh yes. So how did this? So yes. Does anyone care like how it actually happened? So I wrote this book and I finished it, and I didn't know what to do. I mean, what do you do with a finished? Well, I didn't even finish it. No, we have to cut back a little bit, but I won't make it short. And Patrick's parents are friends with this author Adriana Trigiani, who wrote a lot of bestsellers and is awesome and wonderful and larger than life and Italian and fantastic. And we went to dinner one night, and I was halfway done, and Patrick, as the proud husband, said, you know, Adri, my wife's writing a book, and she was like, oh yeah, how far have you got? And I hadn't shown it to anyone at that point except, and I said, 77 pages, and she said, oh, 77 pages, that's cute. So maybe like when you're at 150, call me and send it to me. And I said, no, 377. And she was like, oh, send it. And I said, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna send it. And then like a few weeks later, she called me. Not even. You remember better than I do. And I picked up the phone and I said, Marie, hold on, she's calling me. And the first thing she said when I picked up the phone is, honey, you're a writer. And we're gonna sell it. And we did. It's so fucking crazy. Anyway. All right, anybody else?
Who came up with the title then?
You know, I wanted to call it the constellations. There's a whole thing with the stars and all this, and there's a thing called the summer constellation, which is 3 of the brightest stars in the galaxy, and they only come out, they're only visible in the sky during the summer months. So I thought that was really cool, 3 girls who only get together in the summer, and you know. But then it kind of seemed vague, so we went through some titles, and I came up with it one night, The Lullaby of Polish Girls. And there's a lot of music stuff, and a lot of, you know, music is big when you're coming of age and growing up in the summers. You two in the front, shut up. And I like it. I like the title, because it's kind of ironic. It should have been really the battle cry of Polish girls or something. The broken song of I don't know what.
Did you always think of it, or when you had the inspiration to write it, as a novel, or was it ever, because you're in the entertainment business, a script in your mind?
No. I hate reading scripts so much. I can't stand it. I hardly ever do. Even when I get a job, I almost sometimes don't even finish the script. I'm bad at it. I love to watch movies, and I like to read plays, but I love to read books and novels. My husband and I are kind of opposite, the same. He loves to read scripts, and I can't stand it.
Listen to music when you write?
No, nothing. So when I edit, there's a lot of songs here and kind of translations of songs. There's a quote in the beginning from this famous song by this Polish band called Budka Suflera, which was like our anthem in Poland growing up every fucking summer. And this song was written in the late 70s, but for some reason, you talk to any person, Polish person, you say Jolka Jolka, which is the name of a girl, and they'll know what you're talking about. So when I would edit at night, I would play Budka Suflera and all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, look it up on iTunes. It's like, Yorka, Yorka! It's very raw, and that's the thing about these Polish kids. They never read, all my guy friends, to this day, they're sadly these kind of turned into these bums on the corner, most of them. Not all of them, but most of them. And they were funny and crazy and wild and just kind of guys that I would never be friends with in America. But the music they listened to and the songs we listened to was so poetic and so raw, and the words were so moving and beautiful. Interesting. So the opening quote is, pamiętasz lato ze snu, gdy pisałaś mi jak źle, which means remember that summer of our dreams when you wrote to me. Oh, it's so bad. Yes?
I was just going to tell you a little trivia. There's a band, I don't know if you've ever heard of them, called Simple Minds. And they're from Scotland. I've seen them a couple times in LA, like in the 80s.
Right.
But they did a song about an interview with the lead singer, Jim Kerr. He married Chrissy Hine and everything, but anyway, he saw Lech Wales's wife being interviewed, and he wrote a song when he saw that. He wrote the Breakfast Club song.
Yes. Did you forget about it? Yeah.
He wrote a song called All the Things She Said.
Right.
About Lech Wales's wife's marriage.
Oh, that's my next book. No, that's interesting. That's funny. Anyway.
6 degrees of applause.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right, so if you just give us
You've been listening to the Skylight Books author reading series. Don't forget that you can check out this and all of our other great podcasts at www.skylightbooks.com. Today's music was provided by Fragile Gang. You can check them out at MySpace, Facebook, and the iTunes Music Store. Thanks for stopping by, and we hope to see you soon.